Phone number here on Sports Talk, 800-956-7266. If you'd like to join the program early on tonight, 800-956-7266. Our email talkback@sportstalksc.com. On Twitter @sportstalksc. Website is sportstalksc.com. And Facebook address is Sports Talk Radio Network. Don't forget, you can always catch us on our website with our video feed at the bottom of the page and also our audio feed up at the top of the page. And that is, of course, sportstalksc.com, where our poll question of the week this week is as follows. If you haven't had a chance to vote, make sure you do so. Who was Clemson's most important signee? And we listed 6 and gave you a chance to enter a name. Dexter Lawrence, Rashawn Smith, Trey Lamar, Trayvon Mullins, Eric Cooper, Tavian Feaster. So far, 33, almost 34% say Dexter Lawrence. I get that. About 21% say Tavian Feaster. I get that as well. And I always like to look at the written in selections. Somebody wrote in John Simpson. Somebody wrote in K-Mac.
Wow.
Oh, okay.
Somebody wrote in Who Gives a Damn.
Wow.
Somebody wrote in Yabba Dabba Doobie. Another entry is Yo Mama.
Nice.
Another entry was Baba Booey.
Okay.
Howard Stern.
One is Mickey Mouse. One is Tractors.
Exclusive.
Donald Trump.
Another one is Who Cares? And another one is Barney 5, whatever that is.
He must have been Barney Fife.
Yeah, I think he mistyped. But anyway, Dexter Lawrence, I could see that. I think Dexter Lawrence, big, strong defensive lineman, will have a chance to defensive front. Rashawn Smith will have a chance to start at defensive end possibly. Trey Lamar will play a lot early on at linebacker in all likelihood. And I would think Trayvon Mullen, with Clemson's secondary situation, they recruited him to play early. Tavian Feaster, he's got a lot of competition ahead of him. I know he's a terrific player coming out of Spartan High, but a lot of who's he going to displace? I mean, you got Gallman coming back at running back. You've got Dye coming back at running back. Choice coming back. Fuller coming back. Is he better than those guys? You try to move him and put him in the slot?
Yes.
Is he going to bump Artavis?
Yes.
Who's he going to bump? Artavis Scott? Ray?
What I'm saying
McLeod?
is he'll be in the rotation. He'll be in the rotation because I've only seen Spartanburg twice on TV, and I could swear he had more catches than he had handoffs.
Mm-hmm.
He just looks like a natural receiver to me.
He does catch a lot of passes. Did that in his career. So if you haven't voted, go to our website, sportstalksc.com, and knock that out. Pass along some other news stories of the day for you. Again, Wes Clark out at Missouri for good, dismissed for academic reasons. So obviously will not be in uniform tonight when South Carolina takes on Missouri. The Gamecocks looking to bounce back from the loss to Kentucky. They're 21-4, 8-4 in the SEC, sitting in third spot in the league. Missouri 9-16 and 2-10 in the SEC. They are coming off a victory. They broke a 9-game losing streak. They beat Tennessee their last time out, 75-64 at home. So, anytime you go on the road, it can be dangerous, especially they are starting, I guess, an hour earlier out there, 6 o'clock versus a 7 o'clock start here in the East. I don't know if that makes any difference or not. South Carolina beat Missouri by 9 earlier in the year in Columbia. And Clark had 26 in that game. And he hit a lot of deep outside shots against the Gamecocks that particular day. But they had enough to overcome that. If I remember correctly, the Gamecocks had a day where they had some pretty balanced scoring. I have to go back here and take a look at the stats from that game, but I think the Gamecocks were led in that game by Thornwell, who had 22. Koshines had 14. Cavicius had 10. Might have been the last game those two contributed in a big way. Neither one of those has given the Gamecocks a lot of offense. P.J. Dozier here of late had 11 for the Gamecock that day. but it was Clark for Missouri that kind of kept them in the game with 26 points and 8 assists. He was fantastic. But the Gamecocks won that game, and now they'll try to get the season sweep of Missouri. Last time they'll see Missouri, because Missouri's not going to be going to the SEC tournament this year. Let's see what else we got going on for you. Out of LSU today, LSU announced that 2 wide receivers have been granted releases from their scholarships to transfer. One is Trey Quinn, who was a big-time recruit that Clemson recruited. And Clemson was in his final thoughts when he committed to LSU. The other, Kevin Spears. They'll be the second and third receivers to transfer out of LSU this season, joining John Diarse, who moved over to TCU. Quinn started 7 games last season, mostly as a slot receiver, and he had 22 catches, 276 yards, and but that was his freshman year. This past season, he had 5 catches for 83 yards, so his contributions dropped off considerably. He's a 2-year guy at LSU. From USC baseball, left-hander John Park going to miss the season after an MRI revealed an injury to the ulnar collateral ligament of the left elbow. He'll have surgery on Thursday. We'll talk with Jerry Myers about that and the rest of his pitching situation going into the season opener coming up this Friday. Monty Lee has set his pitching rotation for the opening weekend of the series. He's going to give the ball to left-hander Charlie Barnes in the opener. Right-hander Clayton Schmidt will start in Game 2. And Jake Higginbotham will start on Sunday. Andy Boddick will begin the season as the team's closer. So that is what the Tigers will roll out to start their season. Can't believe baseball season is upon us once again from the college standpoint. What do you think about the chances of somebody getting to Omaha this year? Of course, you never know. We've had years where we thought somebody would make it, and they didn't. We've had years when we didn't think anybody would advance, and they surprised us.
I would be shocked if Clemson made it this year.
Mm-hmm.
In Monty Lee's first year. That would be pretty shocking. I would be surprised if either of the major programs made it this year, to be quite honest. I think South Carolina will be better. I think they'll make the postseason this year, but I don't think they'll make it to Omaha.
Clark Schmidt, Braden Webb, and Taylor Widener will be USC's opening weekend rotation. And I saw a tweet from one of the college baseball national writers who opined that was a very good-looking rotation in his eyes, and one that could carry the Gamecocks a long way.
To Omaha?
He didn't go that far. He just said,
hey, maybe.
His words were, this rotation could make for a pretty special season at South Carolina.
So Widener's going to go back to the starting role. He's got great stuff. If he can corral it for extended periods and they have the bullpen, and those starters are good-looking starters. The question is, for every team this time of the year, do you have those middle guys? You have the guys that can pitch the 6th, 7th, and 8th. Do you have the guy in the 9th that you can hand the ball to and he can shut it down? And teams that have that, even if you have some offense that struggles at times, if you have that, you can win.
I just get the feeling that Widener may start off as a starter, but for whatever reason,
go back.
It takes a tremendous mental makeup for a pitcher to be a closer. I mean, you just can't hand the ball. You're the closer. And he seems to have the right demeanor for that role. As far as South Carolina is concerned, people looked at the South Carolina team that made those runs in the College World Series. And the one key thing that they had that really just fell apart last season is they did not give teams extra outs. They had a staunch defense during those winning years, and they got porous last year, and it cost them big time, especially when the bats were cool.
You're exactly right. And we'll talk more about that with Jerry Myers coming up in the second hour. You'll hear from Monty Lee tonight as well. And, of course, a full dose of recruiting coming up in the next half hour, too. 800-956-7266 is the number here on Sports Talk. All right, we're back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Some football coaching news over the last couple of days. At the Citadel, Scott Yielding is returning to the staff as recruiting coordinator, and he'll coach the defensive line. At Furman, Ramal Fauntleroy is going to be the new defensive line coach. Spent the last 7 seasons at Shepherd University in West Virginia. He replaces Jimmy Lindsey, who is now at Georgia Southern. And at Wofford, Sheil Woods is rejoining the coaching staff as safety coach and recruiting coordinator. He coached for 6 seasons at Wofford, 2007 through 2012, on both the offensive and defensive side of the ball. In those 6 seasons, the Terriers won 3 conference championships and went to the playoffs 5 times. All right. And let's see what else here of note. Furman's Stephen Kroon, Southern Conference Basketball Player of the Week, averaged over 23 points, over 4 rebounds, 3 assists, and 1.5 blocks per game, as the Paladins had a 2-0 record this past week. High school basketball playoffs are underway, and the final regular season rankings are out. In 4A boys, it's Irmo, James Island, Burns, Westside, and Sumter. 3A, AC Flora, Seneca, Berea, Marlboro County, and South Point. 2A boys, Ridgeland, Hardyville, Keenan, Silver Bluff, Abbeville, and Andrew Jackson. 1A boys, Denmark, Oler, Christchurch, Hannah Pamplico, Hemingway, and Calhoun County. On the girls' side, 4A, Spring Valley, number 1, followed by Greenville, Goose Creek, Sumter, and Rock Hill. 3A, it's Dreer, Lancaster, Crestwood, Myrtle Beach, and Orangeburg, Wilkinson. 2A, Bishop England, Mullins, Ridgeland, Hardyville, Pendleton, and Andrew Jackson. And 1A girls, Timmonsville, Christchurch, C.A. Johnson, Calhoun County, and Burke. Oh, look who's there at number 6. Who do you think that is at number 6?
Ladder.
That would be the mighty Vikingettes, defending state champions. Latta.
Okay.
Remember it, respect it, revere it at number 6.
Well, why, if they revere it, why are they 6?
Just
top.
being coy, just
okay.
I
in the
respect them
shadows.
enough not to call them Vikingettes.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's what they are. The Vikingettes.
That sounds like
to
some
separate
candy.
them from the Vikings.
That
The
sound like
Vikings
some-
are the boys,
that
and the
sound like some
Vikings.
candy. You
In
wanna-
Latta,
want-
we have
want
no
some
trouble
Vikingettes?
identifying with exactly what we are.
Okay.
We are Vikings, and
Well, I
we're
remember
Vikingettes.
studying any Vikingettes in my history classes. Must have missed that day.
When those female Vikings swung that sword, it cut just as deep.
All right. We are up to date on things. Let's take a look at what else is happening today in the SEC besides USC and Mizzou. 3 other games tonight. You've got Vanderbilt at Mississippi State, Florida at Georgia. That could be a war. And Ole Miss at Texas A&M. That could be a pretty good game. Those 3 are at 9 o'clock. USC's on the SEC network at 7 o'clock.
You get the feeling that Stallings knows he has a good team. They've had some injuries early. He just wants to pile up a few victories and steal the SEC tournament in his hometown.
1 game in the ACC tonight. It's Wake Forest at Pittsburgh. We will go out to Columbia, Missouri after the break. Sports Talk here on a Tuesday night from the real Columbia. That would be Columbia, South Carolina. Now we head out to the make-believe Columbia. The Columbia wannabe.
That's cold.
It is cold out there. The Columbia wannabe. We welcome in our brother from another Learfield mother, Bill Pollock, covering the Missouri Tigers and the Gamecocks tonight. Hey, how are you?
I'm doing all right. Listen, when you cover Mizzou athletics, there's never a dull moment. There's always something going on. So I thought, hey, maybe this is going to be a slow week. No, not the case.
Yeah, we say the same thing around here between South Carolina and Clemson. I mean, there's always something going on. So this obviously a shock to everyone about Clark. What's the story about what's going on there?
The junior point guard who has started 25 games. You guys saw him play last year. It saw that horrific elbow injury. Was certainly a blow to the team back then, but he's been dismissed for academic reasons, and that just came to light just a few moments ago. So we'll obviously get more. We won't get much more, but we'll try to get a little more from head coach Kim Anderson after the game tonight. But you know what? I got to tell you something. In the big picture of things, this team is 9-16, 2-10 in the SEC. Ryan Rosberg, their only senior, is going to be graduating. Wes Clark, now a junior, he's going to be gone. You know what? I think in the big picture of trying to turn this program around and get it pointed in the right direction, it's going to turn out all right for Missouri. I think it's just time to cut ties with guys that aren't going to pull their weight in this program, whether it's on the court or in the classroom. And Kim Anderson doesn't have a lot of rules, but he sticks to them. So if you're not passing in the classroom, then you're off the team. And there's no reason to keep him around. If you're not going to follow those rules, you're certainly not helping this team that's 9-16. And he certainly feels, Kim Anderson feels like he's on the hot seat. So he's got to make some moves and make a point and free up a scholarship.
Is he really on the hot seat in just year number 2?
Well, I think there are some people here that are questioning, saying, boy, is this the right guy? Because there were a lot of people when he was hired, he's coming from Division II, can he recruit? How come the sophomores on this team, we knew they were going to take their lumps as freshmen. Let's give them some time. I don't know if I was the only guy, but I was the first guy. When Frank Haith left, I was the one who screamed from my soapbox, Kim Anderson is the guy, because just an hour and a half west of here, he had a very successful Division II program at Central Missouri. He had just won a Division II national championship. I said, look, they've got to get away from these guys like a Mike Anderson who wants to go back home to Arkansas, or a guy like Frank Haith who's just going to recruit a bunch of JUCO transfer guys. They need somebody that can connect with this program. He played at Mizzou. He was an assistant coach under their legendary coach, Norm Stewart. I said, you've got to get this guy in there, a guy who has won at some level and can reconnect with those people that look back at the Norm Stewart glory days. And you've got to get basketball to the way it used to be. You can't bail on him in 2 years. That would be ridiculous. That would be like bailing on Frank Martin after 2 years. It takes time. You guys finally have a program now that I think is very solid, but it takes time, and you can't give up on them yet. But there's some people who are saying, yeah, it's time to move on. But I disagree with that.
Took South Carolina about 40 years, but because and then that's a big contrast. And Gamecock fans are just now really coming back, and they're supporting the program. How are the Mizzou fans? I mean, that's normally one of the tougher trips. Martin has talked about it from his days in the Big 12. What kind of crowds are showing up for this now that they're done for all intents and purposes? They are done. They're not going to be in the SEC tournament. They're not going to be in the postseason. How are they supporting this group?
Yeah, they're getting about 6,000 fans. Now, this past Saturday, one of the assistant coaches has a 5-year-old daughter who has stage 4 cancer. And so they did a fundraiser where people just made a donation. Didn't matter how big or how small it was. You got into the game to sit in the general admission. They had over 10,000 fans for that. But, yeah, this team is typically getting 6,000. But I'll tell you how Mizzou fans support their basketball team. When this team under Mike Anderson went to the Elite Eight, the following season, their season opener, now it's against a non-conference. It's a non-con game. It's not a big opponent. They had 5,000 people show up. And I looked at that and I thought, are you kidding me? You have a team. You have a basketball program that's being molded at the time, we thought, by Mike Anderson, that is bringing some guys in here. There's energy in this program now. You have the football team that was on the rise. Now you got basketball that made it to the Elite Eight. And you show up the first couple weeks of the season and you're averaging between 5,000 and 7,000 fans. Are you kidding me? So it's going to take a lot. So you take a team now that's 9-16 and has 18 wins over the last 2 years. And yeah, it's like pulling teeth to get people to come out here and support this program. So that's just, that's the way Mizzou fans are. I think they're very fickle. I'm not from this area, so I don't pull any punches. There's some journalists that cover this team that went to this school that I think are homers, but let's be honest, this fan base is not very good.
Well,
and so when you got a program that's struggling, they're not going to support it.
yeah, I was about to ask, is it a contrast of some fans really refusing to grasp SEC basketball versus Big 12, or as you say, they're really non-committal anyway?
No, yeah, I think they're non-committal. I think it was before that. Now, people will say back at the old Hearn Center, and this is going back to the Big 8 days before the Big 12 expanded, when you had the Big 8 days, and they would say, boy, those were the glory years. But that was when Norm Stewart was around, and he was a fiery type of guy. But, you know, once he left, you had Quinn Snyder, who was an assistant coach under Coach K at Duke. He was supposed to be the hot shot coach. He ended up getting in trouble. He left. Then you had Mike Anderson come in here, and he did some good things, but then he left for Arkansas and kind of pulled the rug out for people. Then they brought in Frank Haith, who he had his troubles in Miami. Then obviously you can tell he brought some problems here. He didn't keep an eye over his program, and now Kim Anderson comes in, and he's got to clean up the mess and put in his own team through sanctions and recruiting restrictions. And so it's been a thing that over time people have just been, you know, there's just other things to do, and Mizzou basketball just hasn't been a priority for fans here. But yeah, so it doesn't have anything to do with the SEC. I think it's just been a cultural problem for the last 15 years or so.
All right, you have at least one guy, and you got a nice win over Tennessee last time out, and that surprised a lot of people. But Ryan Rosburg has been playing some excellent basketball last week or so. What's clicked with him?
Yeah, you know, I think it's just I think a lot of it has to do with Kim Anderson. I think he's taught him. I think Ryan Rosburg has taken to Kim Anderson. I think he's taught him that position, that post position a little bit more, finding out what he can do, what he's successful at. I think for a time here, I think when Ryan Rosburg came to this program, coaches like Frank Haith just didn't pay a lot of attention to him. But all of a sudden it's clicking for him. Now, the bad thing for Anderson in this basketball program is it's clicking, and he's got 6 games left of his collegiate career. Mm-hmm. But I had joked just a couple of weeks ago, and I said, you know, this Missouri team will improve when Ryan Rosburg graduates, because he was downright bad. He started to turn things around, and I think he fouled out a month ago when we were down there by you guys. But he scored 14 points on 6 of 6 shooting. And that was kind of his turnaround. So it's been a gradual thing. But, yeah, he has, in the last 3 games, 62 points. It took him 13 games prior to that to score 62 points. So, yeah, he's just come into his own. Guys are finding him. They're committing to getting the basketball down low. And he's playing pretty well. So we'll see how he does tonight now. But, yeah, it's been a surprise. I mean, it's been an eye-opener to me, because I've been pretty critical of the kid just in terms of his basketball ability. But the kid's worked hard, and he hasn't quit. In his senior year, he could have packed it in, but he's worked hard, and that's a credit to him. And I think you have to credit Kim Anderson for some of that as well.
Bill, make sure you drop our name to Frank Martin after the game, and he'll give you the star treatment. Make sure you drop Sports Talk, Kornblut, K-Mac, Pro. Just mention our names, and he'll take good care of you.
You know what? I might do that. I might ask a question on behalf of Sports Talk back in Columbia. I'll see what he says. What's he going to do?
Yes.
What's he going to do?
Treat you very well.
You might get an exclusive, you know.
Prepare for a friendly stare.
Hey, we'll call you back at about, halftime. We'll get a halftime update from you. Thank you, Bill. Bill Pollock in Columbia, Missouri, with us here on Sports Talk. Back in a moment. And we're back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network from downtown Columbia. Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, Professor Tom Hayes. 800-956-7266 is the phone number if you want to join in. And our email, talkback@sportstalksc.com. And on Twitter. Twitter handle is @SportsTalkSC. Twitter always buzzing. Our Twitter timeline is always very active, and we invite you to be a part of our Twitter family. It's a very close-knit family. It's a loving family. It's a respectful family.
Always.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what social media is all about.
The respect and the love.
That's why most people, I think, go to Twitter.
Mhm.
They said, I'm in a great mood. I want to just tell everybody how much I love them.
And get
in
it in
140
return.
characters or less. It only
Yeah.
takes 5.
Now, do you know, you weren't here last week when we talked about this, Twitter has sort of flattened out in terms of growth.
That's what I heard.
There are about 315 million users
Mhm.
worldwide. And, they're talking about shaking some things up and doing away with the limit on characters.
I hope not.
Give you unlimited characters.
I hope not.
Yes.
Unlimited.
To me,
Talk
it's
about
unlimited
somebody's
characters.
timeline.
Yeah,
That's unlimited characters just behind the keyboards.
There are some
with Twitter.
characters
this is true.
behind the characters.
Clemson junior catcher Chris Oakey, one of 50 players named the Golden Spikes Award watch list, announced today. That's for the National Player of the Year. First team All-American last season and had a great year. Led the 2015 squad in homers, total bases, and slugging percentage. And then he went on to play for the U.S. Collegiate National Team for the second summer in a row. He's had a great career at Clemson, as he was expected to. He's a very highly touted player coming out of high school when he got to Clemson. So keep a watch on him. Yeah, talking about the baseball season opening up and how teams will do. And, I think it's kind of good that South Carolina and Clemson in particular are flying a little bit under the radar this season and give them a chance to maybe surprise some people. Now, I think Pro was correct when he said South Carolina has got to pick it up defensively. Way too many errors last year, and Clemson as well. Clemson had a tough year in the field last year. They had several bad fielding years towards the end there under Jack Leggett. I think Monty Lee has made that one of his major points of emphasis is improving their team defensively. And they've made some changes. They've moved some guys around. Seth Beer could be an immediate impact player for them as
Smooth.
a freshman. Mm-hmm.
Great taste, less feeling.
Yeah, all kind of things are going to come out of that name, I'm sure. They just hope he hits home runs. And anyway,
Got a bubbly personality.
he does. Yeah. Anyway, that will be a point of emphasis at Clemson in trying to improve
He's over the legal limit.
the defense. All right, K-Mac.
I can keep going.
Yes, I'm sure you
tilt
could.
the glass this way and you won't have all that foam.
And South Carolina, it started with them last year really behind the plate. They were not good defensively behind the plate. They kind of knew that going into the year. It could be a problem. It turned out to be a problem. They recruited to try and improve that. They've also recruited some junior college guys to give them more immediate punch offensively because you've got to replace the big bat of Kyle Martin. And they're hoping that some guys who didn't have great offensive years last year will turn it around this year and have the kind of numbers expected of them. So, we'll see. I think they both have got a chance. I mean, look, Clemson made the tournament last year, and they've got enough back, I think, to even though in the preseason they're not picked high in the ACC, they're not in many of the preseason polls, if any. The expectations aren't high, but it is Clemson. Monty Lee's a good coach, and he's got good players. So I would not discount the possibility of Clemson being in the postseason. Certainly South Carolina as well. I mean, let's face
tournament
it.
team last year, although they lost Crownover. Right?
True.
Crownover is why they were there last year.
But let's
They had
face
one
it.
of
Now
best pitchers in
the
country.
pressure's on Chad Holbrook going into this season.
Lots of pressure.
Now the
Chad
pressure's
Holbrook.
on Chad Holbrook. I mean, he's the
Well,
one that followed the legend.
But the legend's his boss, and his boss is also a guy that's very loyal and very patient and understands that game. Now, the Gamecock fans are going to put pressure on Holbrook. I just don't know that Tanner, barring a big collapse and no signs of improvement, which I don't think will happen, but Tanner is a very loyal guy, and he does not listen to outside noise. So how many people wanted him to fire Coach Calvi when he was the pitching. Every year, Coach Calvi's got to go. Coach Calvi's got to go. Coach Calvi's got to go, and won a World Series. And Calvi did go. He got a head coaching job. Tanner doesn't listen to that noise. He understands how difficult it is to win a game. And I think Tanner's going to be patient with Chad Holbrook, his first hire.
Well, you got to be – if you're South Carolina fans, you're saying, is this Smoke Laval all over again? Smoke Laval, who replaced a legend at LSU and couldn't get it done. And
he went to Omaha. I think he got a bad rap from the fans.
Every year, they have taken a step back, but maybe he'll turn around. Hey, whether you are a USC Gamecock or you bleed Clemson Orange, all fans in South Carolina can agree on Founders Federal Credit Union. And with a convenient location at USC and a Clemson office coming soon, Founders is a sure fan favorite. Visit relaxjoinfounders.com to see if you qualify for membership. To the recruiting report we go tonight. Offensive lineman Eric Douglas of Charlotte was at USC's Junior Day Saturday, and he's been to USC before for camps and for games. First chance to meet with the new coach, Muschamp, get an idea about the direction of the program. Says a great experience, learned a whole lot. He's going to North Carolina Wednesday for the Duke basketball game. Plans to visit Florida this weekend. Then he plans to make his decision within a month or two with USC, Clemson, Florida, and NC State on his list, and North Carolina will join the list if it offers. He does not have a favorite at this point. Clemson is in touch as well. Talked with the Tigers last week and was at their Junior Day in late January. His teammate is offensive lineman TJ Moore. He's a little more down the road towards a decision and tells us right now South Carolina is his favorite. He was in on Saturday, liked it a lot, has a good relationship with Sean Elliott. He's considering a return trip Saturday for the Florida basketball game unless he takes a football visit to Miami. North Carolina, NC State, Kentucky, and Florida State, other schools of interest to him right now. He's also hearing some from Clemson. He's planning to visit Penn State and Kentucky as well. And he's not yet ready to make a commitment, saying he wants to wait until the start of his senior year or maybe into 2017. Defensive end Michael McDaniel of Loganville, Georgia, did not make it to USC Saturday, still waiting on his test score to be posted. That has not come in yet, according to his assistant coach, Kenyatta Watson. Watson said USC is where McDaniel wants to go, and the coach talked with USC recruiter Lance Thompson Monday and said it still sounds like USC is interested in McDaniel. More offers being handed out by USC. Athlete Jaden Cole, Monroe, Louisiana. Running back Keyshawn Bryan of Fort Lauderdale. 2018 defensive lineman Robert Cooper of Snellville, Georgia. He was in for Junior Day. Receiver Anthony White Jr. of Hialeah, Florida. And defensive back Jalen Kelly Powell of Detroit. 2018 offensive lineman Noah Sherburne of Canton, Georgia, was at Clemson over the weekend. Clemson and USC target defensive back Jamias Williams was offered by Nebraska. And in baseball, Malden outfielder Bryce Teodosio committed to Clemson. Could be Teodosio. Whatever. Congratulations. He has committed to Clemson for the 2017 class. There you go with recruiting, unless K-Mac, you have anything?
I'm going to pass.
All right. Pro, you have any recruiting notes you want to add?
No.
Okay. Well, I guess that does it for recruiting. Check it out online at sportstalksc.com, on Twitter, and use this before they increase the number of characters. Hashtag ST Recruiting will take you to our stories. Top of the hour.
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
Well, not a good start for USC out at Missouri. They're down 4-1, 3 minutes in. The Gamecocks 0 for 4 from the field at this point, and getting hammered on the backboards early on, 6-2. That will drive Frank Martin nuts if they get beat on the boards like that through the rest of the game. Long way to go, however. All of Missouri's points have come on offensive rebounds so far, so Gamecocks need to wake up and get on the defensive board. Carrera has USC's single point, and now it's a 6-1 Missouri lead. So, you go on the road, you're playing a bad team, it's in last place, and you kind of slop it around out there and kind of take it for granted. You end up getting beat. Probably happened to Tennessee last time out.
Oh, yeah, it did. They were put to sleep by no crowd being there, and it cost them. With South Carolina, you go 6-1 timeout.
Let's see.
And then
call
you
a
just
timeout?
stand there.
No, did not call a timeout. But then again, Pro, sometimes coaches will say, we're going to play through this.
Yeah,
you guys figure it out and play through this. I'm not going to spend a timeout here, and let me see if you can pick it up.
Or if you really want to get them cranked up, just get yourself thrown out.
Mm-hmm. That works sometimes, not all the time. It helps to have a great – look, despite Kentucky's travails this year, they're loaded in talent. I mean, just look at them when they come off the bench. 7 feet, 6'10", 6'10", 6'9". A little short guard out there, but he's an All-American type player who ate the Gamecocks' lunch. So it's not like Kentucky doesn't have players. They're always going to have players.
I could win the whole thing.
I'm not a coach.
Yeah, I wouldn't discount it.
I'm not a coach, but I play one on the radio. And I thought the game plan was bad defensively because, Tyler Ulis, I would have let him have all he could eat. But guess what? While he's having all he can eat, he doesn't get everybody involved. Let him venture in the lane every time down.
Yeah, but he didn't do that.
No, that's what I'm saying.
He was hitting long outside shots. He didn't really attempt to venture into the lane.
Point. Let him live out there. But he got Murray started. See, that's the key. When you let a guy get in there and then you collapse on him and then he gets the other guy started, and I said before the game that was the most dangerous guy on the floor was Murray, because if you get him involved, if he strokes that first shot, he's dangerous, and it cost them.
They've hit the first media timeout, and it's 6-1 Missouri.
Gamecocks are still
asleep,
punch drunk.
Yeah, I mean, they're just it is what it is. They're 0 for 6 from the floor, 0 for 2 from 3, 1 for 2 from the line, being out rebounded 7-4. They've turned it over twice. I'm sure Frank Martin is giving them an earful. All right, 6-1 Missouri. We're going to talk Gamecock baseball. Jerry Myers coming up after the break. Okay, we're back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network, Missouri, leading USC 8-5, about 7 minutes in. Tigers have only hit 2 of their last 10, 1 of their last 6, and Thornwell's got 2, Hakavicius has got 2, and Carrera's got 1 for USC at this point. Rosberg has 4 for Missouri. Baseball season at USC and colleges all around the country begins on Friday. Cannot believe it is here again, but it is, and we are excited about it. USC pitching coach Jerry Myers now joining us here on Sports Talk. Good evening, Coach. How are you?
I'm doing well. How about you?
We're doing fine. Welcome back to baseball. You guys are jacked up and excited about getting the season underway, and you set your rotation for the opening weekend at least, or is this a rotation that could be set for weekends to come?
I mean, the truth will come out in probably the first couple weekends as far as that goes, where we need to use some guys due to the fact that some guys will be playing different roles than they played last year. That did pitch a little bit for us, and then the number of new guys that we look like, that at least at this point we feel like can contribute exactly how they're going to plug in. And but this first weekend, that could very well remain our rotation, but there's a lot of competition on our staff right now, which is very healthy for us. And, there's very capable guys up and down our pitching staff at this point. So a lot of the times it's when that guy hits that next level of development, he makes that next jump. And, sometimes when the season starts, you kind of see a little bit of both. Some guys will level off, and some other guys will make a jump when the competition becomes a little different. Well,
give us the bright mark for each of the starters. Clark Schmidt on Friday, Braden Webb on Saturday, and Taylor Widener on Sunday.
Well, Clark Schmidt on Friday, I mean, every day is important. The Saturday spot's real important, obviously, and going into a 3-game set as well. It can definitely be categorized as a swing game one way or the other, and getting you back on track or allowing you to finish off at least a series win if you win on Friday. But Clark has been very, very consistent for us both in the fall and in the preseason with stuff wise in the low 90s. He can throw 4 pitches when he's on. He's throwing them for strikes. He can mix it up, and he can command it pretty well, and has some movement. So he's a guy that has 7 starts under his belt in the league last year, and so experience-wise, he's experienced a lot of the feel of both pitching at home and on the road in the league. So and as a freshman, he had some really bright spots last year, and I would say 2/3 of his outings were really solid for us. Braden Webb on Saturday, he's a new guy, but he's one of our older guys. As odd as that sounds, as a freshman, he 2014 was a senior in high school and was injured and had surgery, and sat out all of last year. He would have been a freshman for us last year, and an older freshman actually too. He's a freshman that's draft eligible this year because his 21st birthday falls around the time frame of the draft. So anyhow, he was drafted last year, even having not played at all in the last 18 months up to that point, and a very talented arm. He's a right-hander that's low to touch mid-90s once in a while, and good down breaking ball, probably exceptional breaking ball when he's throwing it right, and can throw 3 pitches for strike. So he's a little bit more than your typical freshman in terms of experience and a little more maturity there. And then Taylor Widener going game 3 is a guy that's been both in our bullpen and a couple spot starts, when we had to revamp things in the middle of last season. And he's coming off a good summer as well in the Coastal Plain League with the Bluefish, and he's a very capable arm. He missed the fall, but is back and throwing what looks like, at this point anyway, close to full speed. So we're going to be real cautious with him as we move forward. But those guys are important, but it's a lot of games are won and lost when you go to the bullpen. So our depth there is going to be just as key as those 3 guys.
And you mentioned the bullpen. Who gets the ball in the 9th in your save situations?
Well, we have a couple guys that have returning saves with 2 or 3 under their belt at the most, so it's not like we have, a concrete formula at this point that we're going to set the game up just for one guy. But at this point in time, a guy that had in the mid-20s in terms of appearances out of the bullpen for us last year and a 5-0 record was Brandon Murray as a sophomore. Now we're hoping he can make a jump and definitely be out there towards the end of the last 6 to 9 outs at some point in time, and maybe in a mix with the Josh Reagan and a Reed Scott, who are just 2 strike throwers from the right and left side with movement and just a little bit of a knack to be able to pitch with traffic out in the bases if needed, and outstanding composure. That's one of the reasons we have Scott and Reagan in the bullpen right now. A good righty-lefty matchup from either side, and guys that can throw multiple days on a weekend if needed, and they're very capable of being swing guys for us as well, with opportunities to start if we need them at some point in time. But some other guys that are new coming out of the bullpen. A kid named Colton Provey was a junior college All-American and pitched in the Junior College World Series last year as a closer, and he looks like a quality reliever at this point. Didn't have a great fall, but he's throwing the ball much better now. A right-hander. It's around 90, but a good mix of pitches. And Kanan Cropper and Tyler Johnson are 2 guys that are, been in the program, hadn't pitched a lot. Tyler was just a freshman last year and threw about 10 innings, and Cropper was injured in high school and missed most of his freshman year, and was kind of coming back and never really got to full form, I guess, even last year. But Kanan Cropper looks like a guy that maturity-wise could help us and stuff-wise at this point. So those are just some of the names. We have a couple others as well, and Alex Destino is a 2-way guy for us that has pitched pretty well for us, and kind of answering some of the questions of him coming out of high school. Was he a hitter? Was he a pitcher? And can he do both? He looks like he can do both. Obviously, he's going to be a staple in our lineup and probably at first base the majority of the time for us defensively. So just trying to run through most of our names. But that's kind of how it'll shake out. And as we get into it, that game competition will dictate a lot of what's going on.
Talking with Jerry Myers, USC pitching coach, the injury to John Park and losing him for the season, what's the impact of that on your team?
Well, John didn't pitch a lot for us in the past, and, he did have a really good fall for us, and did pitch some in the summer, and he was an older guy and a left-hander that when he was in the strike zone was looking like he was trying to make a case for himself to be in the mix, and unfortunately kind of had some ongoing issues, but never really pitched a whole lot, so nothing really surfaced that much as far as being injured. But it kind of just wear and tear up to this point. Just got diagnosed a few days ago that it's probably best and maybe get repaired and see if we can get back to the point he was this past fall and parts of last summer where he was throwing probably as well as he had come really coming out in high school senior year, but probably throwing it about the best that he had in a while. So,
what about the 2 guys dealing with the surgery, going to miss the season? In particular, Crow. How's their progress?
Both of those guys got a chance to be. We've seen Crow obviously, but Cody Morris, freshman as well, at their time frame. Unfortunately, if there had been a 4 to 6 week difference, or if it would have happened a little bit earlier for both of them, they would be able to factor in this year. But we're not going to. You see guys bring guys back early, and it never really works out for them. And if even if they don't get injured again, it's probably not the smart thing to do. I say early. It's usually that 12-month mark that they say is a threshold, and some can come a little bit earlier, and some take up to 18 months before they finally get it back. And it's just an unfortunate time frame. Both those guys have really, really bright futures, and it would be a really good thing for us depth-wise and frontline guys, and just having a chance to have a really, really good staff the following year as well, when hopefully both of those guys are right in the thick of things.
All right, Coach, hang on. Going to hit a quick break. Couple of more questions for you when we come back with Jerry Myers. Well, I hate to spoil a good conversation with a USC coach by bringing up the basketball score. My goodness. USC missed its wake-up call. It's 23-8, Missouri. Gamecocks have hit 3 of 22 from the floor, shooting 14%. I don't know. From your standpoint as a pitching coach, it'd be the equivalent of about a 10 ERA.
You need to get some arms going in the bullpen right now.
Yeah, well, they've had an outstanding year. I think they'll probably figure out a way to get it back in this game pretty quick. And you know, you can't knock them what kind of season they've had up to this point. They've been getting after it. I think they'll figure it out.
Well, as soon as you said that, they hit a 3. So there you go.
There you go.
Well.
You
I'll
brought
keep talking then.
you brought on the mojo. Just want to keep you for a couple more minutes. You know, the catching situation, how does it compare going into the season to how it ended last year, and how does that affect pitchers?
It's a huge factor. It's a much more positive situation this year. Coach Esposito works with our catchers on top of being instrumental in recruiting all these guys, and with really a very, very talented freshman, Chris Cullen, kid out of Georgia, that kind of boggles my mind a little bit why he didn't have more play as far as the draft goes. I know he was very serious about coming to school, but very talented freshman who missed the fall for us. He had some elbow problems in the summer, and he didn't play in this fall. So this preseason was very important for Chris, and he's outstanding. But Hunter Taylor returns, and as a sophomore, it's night and day how much he's made a jump and improvement behind the plate, receiving, blocking, and just taking charge. It's very interesting to see that year of, that 1 year of eligibility under his belt, and the maturity process kicking in with him, and then the junior college switch hitter who's going to probably hit in the middle of our lineup, or close to it. Not catching is a kid named Johnny Jones. He's a second year player, but went to Manatee Junior College for 1 year in Florida. And originally had signed with Miami coming out of high school and decided to go to JUCO for a year. And he's very talented. He's just a baseball player. Both he and Colin jumped in as new guys and took charge like you want catchers to do. And I really don't care which one we catch. It's one of those deals where there isn't a drop off when you go from 1 to 2 or the third one. And like I said, Jones might be swinging the bat a little bit better than the other two, and will probably DH when he doesn't catch. But it's a huge factor. Pass balls, wild pitches, balls that Grayson Griner blocked for years and years that, they're wild pitches if they get by him, and then he turned them into. And that was huge for us. During the time he was here, we didn't have much of that last year at times, and just that relationship and commanding pitches and everything else that catcher has. It's going to be a stronger point for us this year, I think.
We wish you the best of luck and look forward to talking to you many times during the season. Hope everybody stays healthy. Throw a lot of strikes, not too many balls. And we thank you for your time as always.
All right. Thanks, guys. You take care.
You too. Thank you. All right. Jerry Myers, pitching coach of the Gamecocks. What's Monty Lee thinking going into his first game at Clemson? You'll find out in a moment.
Want information. Information. Information.
All right, thanks again to Jerry Myers for being with us tonight here on the program. Monty Lee coming up in a moment. 27-17 Mizzou over USC with 6 minutes to play in the opening half. USC starting to play maybe a little bit better and make some shots. They're up to 24%. Mizzou shooting 40%. Thornwell and Notice with 5 points each for the Gamecocks, who are being out-rebounded 20-15. And they have turned it over 4 times. Missouri's turned it over 7 times to this point. So the Gamecocks going to have to come from behind if they're going to pull off this win tonight at Missouri.
I was about to say, not looking at the game field, you got to have a feeling that at the beginning of the game, when those shots didn't drop, it affected their defense. And when you let your missing shots affect your defense, you look up and you can get blown out.
Mm-hmm.
So
even by a bad team.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
27-17, 6 minutes ago in the first half in Columbia, Missouri. We'll get an update at halftime from Bill Pollock. All right, Clemson baseball. Tigers are set to open up their first campaign under Monty Lee this weekend at Doug Kingsmore Stadium. Today he met with the media and was asked first about the starting rotation he has planned for this weekend.
You know, we're going to go with Barnes in game 1. I think Barnes is a tremendous competitor. You know, nobody likes facing a left-hander typically, and Barnes is one of those guys that has a lot of pitchability. We know he's going to go out there and pound strikes and compete as hard as he can, and he's one of those guys that gives us a great chance to get a quality start in game 1. So we're going to go with Charlie in game 1. We're going to go with Clayton in game 2. And we could have went either way. I mean, we could have went game 1, Charlie game 2. I don't think it would have been that big of a difference. But, you know, we wanted to try to split the lineup a little bit and go lefty then righty. And then we're going to go with Jake Higginbotham on Sunday. You know, Higgy's a very talented freshman. We feel like for him to be where we want him to be, we got to throw him in the fire and start him. So, and I think it really sets up our bullpen very well. Gives us multiple options, left-handed and right-handed out of the pen. And and I think that could be a strength of ours early is our bullpen as these guys continue to develop and get more comfortable pitching out of the pen. You know, these 3 guys starting really sets up our bullpen nicely.
Got to have somebody come in bottom of the 9th. Is it going to be? Do you know that yet?
Bostic. Yeah, we're going to go with Bostic. Bostic will be our closer. So we'll go to him in the 9th inning. Again, you know, you want power stuff at the end of the game, and you know, Bostic gives you a guy that's been up to 93, 94 miles an hour. He's left-handed. He's got a plus breaking ball. He's an experienced guy. So we feel very good about going with Bostic at the end.
When you look at the scrimmages over the last few weeks and you look at Charlie and Clay, have they been pretty even with the way they pitched?
Yeah, they have. I mean, it hasn't been, again, we debated, you know, a little bit about which way we wanted to go, and I think all of us felt pretty good either way. I didn't think there was necessarily one reason to go with Clay over Charlie or vice versa outside of, I just think when you set up, you know, for the weekend, if you're facing a lefty, then a righty, then a lefty, as opposed to a righty, lefty, you know, I think it can do some things to the lineup a little bit. It gives them a little bit of a different look from one game to the next and then back to the lefty by going lefty, righty, lefty. But we could have went either way. I thought they were 1A and 1B, so to speak, and we just decided to go with Barnes in game 1, just again to potentially flip the lineup a little bit and get different looks each day.
You figured out left field, right field, first base?
Yeah, you know, we're definitely going to go with Chris Williams at first base. We feel like Chris is a guy that gives us a pretty good defender at first. He's a middle-of-the-order type hitter. He's really hit the ball well in the preseason. So Chris will play first base. And I think the domino effect will depend on what we do with Roman. You know, if we play Roman and left, it opens up an opportunity for us to DH a Robert Jolly. You know, Robert obviously gives you quality at bats, and the DH, how good a hitter Roman is. If we DH Roman, then it opens up some opportunities for us to put some guys that are more defensive So if we want to go a little more defense, we may put a Wharton in left or a Malik Gibson in left. You could put Mike Triller in left. They're all pretty good defenders. And DH Rollman. Or we could go Rollman. If we want to go a little more of an offensive lineup, we could play Reed in left and DH Jolly and be more offensive. So I think it's just really going to depend upon the matchup for us. And if we want to be more defensive, say on a Friday night, we may go a little more defensive. And as the weekend progresses, if we feel like we need to score more runs, we may go a little more offensive and put Reed out there.
Seth Beer and right.
Yes. I think Beer has shown over the last 2 weekends that he has potential ability to be a guy that can drive the baseball, that can hit at a high level, can really throw. So, and that's where he's most comfortable. We didn't have enough time to really move him around and see if there was any sort of versatility there. I wanted him to be as comfortable as possible and not throw too much at him at once. So we stuck him in right. And Seth's hit really well. He's hit a couple home runs in the last 4 inter squads and really starting to swing the bat well.
Aside from the lefty-righty, how much stock do you put in, well, this guy's the Friday starter, this guy's the Saturday? I mean, is it important?
Well, here's the way I look at it, and this is exactly how I look at it. If you win on Friday night, you can win the series on Saturday if you got a really good guy going. If you lose on Friday night, you got to get right back into the series on Saturday with a guy that can win that game so you go in Sunday with a chance to win the series. So I think the Saturday starter is extremely, extremely important in terms of how you decide to set up your rotation. If you look at teams that win a lot of games, they're really good on Saturday because, again, we're all facing the best guys on Friday night. Friday nights a lot of times are low-scoring games. One mistake and you can lose that game. You've got to have a guy on Saturday that if you happen to lose a game on Friday night can get you right back into the series on Saturday. If you win on Friday night, now you're facing a guy that can win you the series on Saturday. So I think the Saturday game is a swing game. We've always looked at it as a swing game. It's a very important game. So I think the value of the Saturday starter is very important. They're all important, but that Saturday game is a big, big deal because you win the first 2, you're looking to sweep on Sunday. You lose the first one, you're looking to get right back into it. So it's it's very important that you make a good decision on Saturday.
Middle relief and setup guys, can you tell me who's maybe come out of the bullpen first?
I would say the first guy that and we even debated potentially starting him on Sunday. He's been so good for us is Alex Eubanks. Eubanks is a guy he's kind of a right-handed version of Barnes. He just pounds the strike zone with 3 pitches, great competitor. Doesn't have necessarily an overwhelming fastball, but a really good breaking ball, throws 2 breaking balls so he can get swings and misses, has sink on the fastball, makes you put it on the ground. Yubi's a guy that we're going to throw a lot out of the pen. That's why we wanted to keep him in the pen to be able to use him twice in a weekend as opposed to just starting him on a Sunday. Schnell has thrown extremely well lately. He was in the mix of potentially starting and could wind up being a guy that we use in long relief or pitch in the middle of the week once we get to that point. Another guy that's thrown very, very well is Garrett Lavorne. Garrett Lavorne has flashed some low 90s, some 91s and 92s with 3 pitches. I think Garrett's going to throw a lot of innings for us. Riley Gilliam is a guy. We kind of look at Gilliam as our 8th inning guy and Bosick as our 9th inning guy. Gilliam has the best breaking ball on the staff. He can really spin a breaking ball. So he's a little guy. I think Daniel Gossett, he's kind of a Daniel guy. He's a really twitched up athlete with an explosive fastball and a really, really it's a wipeout breaking ball. So we feel like that's what we want to do, kind of use Eubanks, Lavorne, Schnell, Pat Krall. Pat Krall is a very, very valuable piece to this bullpen. I could see us, depending on when our starter goes out, we may run a Eubanks out after a Barnes. We may run a Krall out after a Schmidt to give a lineup a much different look going from the right-hander to the left-hander.
I don't think we've ever heard that before, a twitched-out athlete. Is that what he said? A twitched-out, quick twitch muscle. Quick twitch, yeah. Clemson opens up with 3 this weekend against Maine, Jack Leggett's alma mater. I wonder if Jack will be asked to throw out the first pitch.
Probably not.
Be a nice touch if they did. We'll be right back. All right, still a 10-point deficit for USC, down 33-23, 12 seconds to go in the half, shooting 25%, 9 of 36 from the floor, 2 of 11 from 3, and they have now gone to halftime. Dozier misses a jumper at the halftime buzzer, 33-23. Brad Brownell in a moment, but earlier today, the news director here, South Carolina Radio Network, Ashley Bird, was at North Augusta and had a chance to do an interview with Donald Trump. The entire interview is on our website, SouthCarolinaRadioNetwork.com. And she got into some sports stuff with him. And so we thought we would play this little clip from the interview. Here is Ashley talking with Donald.
Fun question for you, and
Go
then
ahead.
we'll follow up. But my sports guys, we have a
Right.
sports radio too, and we talked to Steve Spurrier recently. And what did you learn with the USFL? Did doing that definitely non-establishment
That's right. That was
effort.
non-establishment.
And what did you learn from its success and its failure?
Yeah, well, I think that, I came in very late. I didn't start it. I just came in on a hit and a miss just to see. I bought a team very inexpensively, and I found it interesting. I actually felt that football should be played in the fall. I think I was right about that. I think Steve Spurrier is a very good guy. I really liked him a lot. I watched him over here. I don't know what happened the last little while, but I watched him over here. But I think he's a very good guy and a sweetheart. I would say that the lesson is I like taking jobs like that. The league was failing when I went in. I went in much later. I didn't start in the league. And I love the risk reward factor. And we won the lawsuit. We won a lot of legal fees and everything else. But I would say that it was just something that was a hit and a miss. And I love Herschel Walker, I can tell you that. And he just endorsed me, as a matter of fact. I just see out of the nowhere, out of the blue, Herschel Walker just endorsed me. He's a great guy.
Did it show you anything? Did it teach you anything?
No, it was just really, it was a thing that I went in. It was sort of a high-risk proposition that I went in for peanuts. And I said, I learned something, and it was a very inexpensive thing that I learned.
Donald Trump with our Ashley Bird. Again, the entire interview is on our news side website, SouthCarolinaRadioNetwork.com. 33-25. I jumped too soon. For some reason, it went to all zeros, but then Silva must have gotten fouled or something. He hit a couple of free throws. 33-25, Mizzou at the break. And now, Clemson coach Brad Brownell and the Tigers tomorrow night at home against Boston College, looking to build on their win from Saturday over Georgia Tech.
I think they have a lot of young players, and so I think those young players have just acclimated better to this level, a little bit better, and certainly they're executing their offense very well. They run some unique things. Coach Christian is a really good offensive coach. He does some things that are a little bit outside the box. I think he really helps Eli Carter, get creative shots, and he's certainly a fifth-year senior, outstanding scorer. He and Dennis Clifford are their two older players, but I think defensively, I think the game has probably slowed down a little bit for a lot of their younger guys, and so they're making a few more shots. Certainly the way they played against North Carolina the other night, they had every chance to win the game. Probably should have. They had a 7-point lead with 5.5 to go, and then Carolina rallied, but they're playing much better than they were, and I expect them to play well tomorrow.
2 years ago, you were in a similar spot where it was kind of got to win each game to try to get to that NCAA tournament. What's different about this team that you're going to be able to get to that four-letter tournament?
I don't know. I mean, it's, I think that's true of most. I mean, that's what's true of most teams, and what you want from most teams is to be in this position with a couple weeks left, and you're, have the opportunity to go to the tournament, and you're trying to play your way in. I mean, there's a handful of teams that already know for sure they're in, but there's probably 50 of us that are, in a situation where it's kind of how we play the last 2 to 3 weeks of the season. I hope our team just executes and plays well. I mean, I think we're a little more dynamic offensively than some of the teams we've had here. Have a few more weapons, so maybe that helps us. Experience is not a factor. We have older players. We have guys that have been through the wars of the league, and so we're not going to be wide-eyed about any of that. It's still really hard to win games on the road, and so that'll be very challenging for us here down the stretch with several road games left. And then, we're going to have to continue to shoot the ball and make our free throws to win close games, which is what a lot of this boils down to. A lot of 2 and 3 possession games where you just got to find a way to win them.
Okay, Brad Brownell, the Tigers against Boston College tomorrow night, 7 o'clock at the Well. And this is a matchup of a team right in the middle of things in the ACC. Clemson, with its schedule, as we've talked about, they've got a chance to win some games and have some upward mobility in the ACC. Meantime, Boston College is, they're last. They're 0-12. And they've lost 12 in a row going into this one. So no excuse for the Tigers to go out and lose this game at home tomorrow night. just come prepared to play your game, should have no trouble, unlike the Gamecocks. We'll get the latest from Mizzou in a moment. Well, if you're wondering where Will Muschamp's going to be laying his head as USC's football coach, it's going to be out of the state's Jeff Wilkinson reporting that Muschamp has purchased a home worth $1.85 million, 9,417 square feet, features 5 bedrooms, 5 full bathrooms, 2 half bathrooms, a library. Thought that was the bathroom. I'm sorry. An office and a media room.
And a practice facility.
Indoor plumbing to go along with an indoor practice facility. All right, so he's certainly going to have a nice crib, as we like to say in the lingo of what lingo is that? The Twitter lingo? What do they call a crib on Twitter? Let's ask Bill Pollock. He's into Twitter. He is all about Twitter in the Midlands.
He's probably feeling the vibrations
in the
of Frank
heartland
Martin.
of America.
If you listen close, you might be able to hear Frank Martin yelling through the phone.
Well, Bill, a decent start for Missouri, but South Carolina kind of creeping up here towards the end.
Yeah, a little bit. They had that 1-1 that they had right at the end there, the foul call on Rosberg, which helped. I was really impressed that Missouri, now listen, USC certainly helped them out. They were 9 of 37, 24% shooting in the first half. That certainly helped. They looked a little short on a lot of their shots. Like they didn't have their legs under them on a lot of those jump shots. 2 of 11.
It's that 6 o'clock start. I mentioned it earlier, that extra hour.
Yeah, yep. I think it might have something to do with it. So, but here's what I was impressed with from the Missouri side, because we just found out. Now I don't know how long the players have known about it, but we in the media and everyone else just found out about 40 minutes before tip that Wes Clark, their starting point guard, was kicked off the team. And so I was thinking, as I was looking at the storyline from Mizzou's standpoint, is how do they come out and play after snapping their 9-game losing streak with a win against Tennessee? Is it something they can build on? Can they play better? And when I heard Clark was kicked off the team, I thought, oh boy, this is gonna throw them for a loop. But they've come out, they've played with a lot of energy. They've been aggressive going to the basket, good ball movement, something that we haven't seen a long time from this basketball team. So I was really impressed with the way that Missouri came out and played. They looked focused, sticking to their game plan. And then Carolina, of course, helped them on their end as well. But we'll see what happens in the second half, because I think that the way South Carolina is attacking the basket, it always seems like the whistles and the game tightens up a little bit. I think they're going to get to the free throw line, and that could even things up pretty quick here in the second half.
Okay, Bill, thank you, man. Enjoy the second half here on CBS, and we will talk to you again soon.
All right, talk to you later, guys.
Thank you. I always say that
Well,
because
see-
Brent Musburger used to always say, enjoy the second half here on CBS. Before you start talking,
Right.
there's the state's got pictures of Muschamp's new home. It's a beauty.
Oh, my goodness.
And it's surrounded by water, so it looks like there's only one way in and one way out, and I'm sure that's going to be heavily guarded.
But since he's
surrounded by water, so
But
he's got to
si-
take a boat to his house.
Well, I say surrounded. This picture makes it look like it's on an island, but I'm
You
sure
can
it's
boat
on a
right up to that thing.
if you
on
look,
a peninsula.
If you look closer, there's some gators in the water too, and a moat.
Well,
Oh, that
if
was
things
his
get
other
off to a
job.
slow
I'm
start,
sorry.
he might need them. All right, that'll do it for tonight. Thank you, Larkin. Have a great day.